1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining me on the program today. Jam-packed show for you. I guess that's the term I can use because that's what we got. We'll obviously take your calls, 803-978-1832. You know, on Wednesday, we do our reaction to the college football playoff rankings. Something we talked about last week where the head-to-head thing matters, which is why Ohio State was out and Oregon was in, apparently doesn't mean anything to the College Football Playoff Committee. We'll get into that in a moment. Mark Stoops takes a shot at the SEC officials. We'll get into that. Is it a good idea to fire your coach in mid-season? That might be something we can get into today. But, yeah, Jake Bentley, by the way, former Gamecock quarterback, has a torn MCL. Lots of folks following his career, of course, transferred to Utah, transferred to South Alabama after a season there. And now he has a torn MCL. He may be, he's going to be out for at least this weekend. We'll see how it works out for him there. All right, so obviously we'll take your calls at 803-978-1832. My initial thoughts on the BCS, the BCS. We're going to compare what the BCS would be to what the CFP rankings are. I think everyone's in agreement. Georgia's number 1. Alabama staying at 2. You know, there were folks that looked at that matchup with LSU and thought, you know what, maybe Alabama would drop a little bit. No, not so much. Oregon moves up to number 3. Ohio State moves into number 4. And Cincinnati falls into number 5. Now, you can also look at, these are the spots that I had an issue with, though. Michigan at 6, Michigan State at 7. Now, I know that Michigan State lost last weekend, but Michigan State has the head-to-head win over Michigan. So why is Michigan ahead of Michigan State? Doesn't really make any sense. It's when you look at it from several different perspectives, it just doesn't make any sense. Here's the problem, though. The head of the playoff committee just says that we just think that Michigan has a better, what was the term? Michigan has better metrics, basically, is what it will boil down to. I don't know. I don't know about all that. The one thing that does matter is that Michigan won the head-to-head, and I guess that doesn't mean anything. Lots of folks chiming in. Megan online says, beat down in Knoxville, book it, Dogs by 72. I'll take Tennessee plus 72. I'm going to place a bet on that. The real MVP says Georgia 61, Tennessee 20. Okay. Blake says the reigning national champions stay at number 2. There you go. That sounds better. He also says they struggled against an LSU team that pays their coordinators more than most teams pay their head coach. You know, that to me sounds like you're a little upset there. You wish your program did that. I'm just, another line from the real MVP. Michigan is the more complete team. That's the exact term from the head of the college football playoff. I don't buy that at all. I really don't. 803-978-1832 as we round out the top 10. Oklahoma. You look at Oklahoma, they do not have a Power 5. They don't have a loss at all. But they don't have a loss, and they're ranked 8th. So apparently their metric doesn't work with the college football playoff. Number 9 is Notre Dame, who has 1 loss on the season. That would be to the team that's ranked 5th in the country. I guess that's not really put into it as much as well. Oklahoma State checks in at 10. Texas A&M is 11. Wake Forest is at 12. Followed by Baylor, BYU, Ole Miss, NC State, Auburn, Wisconsin, Purdue, Iowa, San Diego State. UTSA finally makes the rankings. and then Utah and Arkansas. Once we get out of the top 10, it's kind of like you're floating a little bit. If we had the BCS simulations would go like this: Georgia at 1, Alabama at 2, Cincinnati would be 3, Oklahoma would be 4, Ohio State 5, Notre Dame 6, Michigan 7, Michigan State 8, followed by Oregon, Oklahoma State, and Texas A&M at number 11. You know, when you really stop and look at it, answering one of the comments, the real MVP says Penn State not being ranked is also wrong. In the BCS, they would be 21. Not ranked in the CFP, though. But anyway, the crazy thing when you look at this set of rankings, we talked about it last week, that if Auburn wins, then they had a showdown set up with Alabama, basically. If they can win out, they're going to go to and win the SEC championship. They would obviously, I think, be the first two-loss team that could have a legitimate gripe. You know, the same thing could probably be said for Texas A&M. If Texas A&M wins out, they are your SEC champion. They'll have a win over number 2, a win over number 1. Let's see here. A win over number 1, number 2, number 15. Yeah, they'd have their losses would be to number 25, and of course Mississippi State is not ranked, but still, Texas A&M, in my opinion, is my pick this week. That hey, if they win out, they could have an opportunity to be the first two-loss team to be selected to go to the college football playoff. All right, so John, with his prediction online, he likes Georgia, OU, Cincy, and Ohio State. You know, if we really wanted the best teams, as of right now, when you look at it from this perspective, teams with wins against the current AP top 25, Notre Dame's got to win, Michigan's got to win, Oklahoma State's got to win, Ohio State's got to win. Same thing with Michigan State, Cincy, Alabama, Oregon, and Georgia. Now, that is kind of inflated, and I use this this metric in my own head here. Where you're ranked when you play, it's for the fans. Okay, when we're determining how many top 25 wins you have, let's go by the final top 25. And I say that because Georgia has what looks like one top 25 win. They have one top 25 win against teams that are currently ranked. But at the end of the season, I don't think it's far-fetched to think that Arkansas will be a team that's ranked in the top 25. Also, you can make an argument Auburn's going to be there as well. And Mississippi State could be there, and Clemson could be there. So Georgia's schedule looks like they could have, at the end of the season, just from right now, not with the games that they have left to play, they could have 4 top 25 wins, which is basically a quarter of their schedule is against ranked opponents. That's pretty good. Pretty good stuff there. So just the idea of, hey, they beat this ranked team. Let's see how it finishes out at the end of the season. 803-978-1832. And let's go out to the phones. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob, here you're talking about the Final Four there. Do you think that Notre Dame is regretting not being in a conference right now?
No, I don't think that Notre Dame cares, because they think that, and it's kind of been this way. It's always, well, what about the exception with Notre Dame? And in fairness, Notre Dame has finished in the top 10. I think it's 8 straight years, something like that. So they're putting out good quality football. It's just that they're a team that's right there on the cusp of being great. Maybe getting into a conference would make them better. I don't know, but
Well,
I
I'm
don't
just
think that,
talking
I just
like
don't
this.
think that they care. I really don't think that they care.
I'm talking like this year. If they weren't in the ACC this year, they probably would have never played Cincinnati.
Well, no, Cincinnati,
And
they scheduled that game like
right,
7 years ago. So
yeah, but if they were going to join they would have probably gotten out of it because they would have wanted to keep their games with USC or their Navy
right.
game or whatever they have. But I think if they end up with just that one loss, there's no way in the world they're getting in the college playoff.
Yeah,
No
well,
way.
no, I don't think so either. The rest of their schedule doesn't really look all that imposing, but they could finish 11-1, or what is it? Yeah, they'll play 12 games. They could finish
Yeah.
11-1, and that's it. That having that extra conference championship game. There's one good thing that's about it. You're going to play a team that's probably pretty good. So we'll see how that works out, though.
Well, last year, I believe they got in last year only because they were a member of the ACC. If they weren't a member of the ACC last year and had that one loss, Texas A&M, I think, gets in front of them.
Well, that's something
I
interesting.
mean,
to think
because
about.
their schedule is just not that good,
Yeah, but
and they don't have a championship game to feed off of that other teams are going to get.
Yeah, I wasn't buying them being in the playoff last year either. I thought that
No.
Texas A&M should have went, but on that front, when you lose by 40 points, it's like, really? Okay. But I mean, they did lose to Clemson by what, 30 in the ACC championship game?
Championship game, yeah.
So it's like, all right, one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't see Cincinnati breaking in there. I don't either.
Well, I got a message from our good friend Buckeye John. And he messaged me something about Cincinnati, and it's like, it seems like Cincinnati is the team that everybody wants to get in, but in reality, Cincinnati, I think if they play Georgia, they lose by double digits. I can't think of any team in the top 10 other than Notre Dame that they wouldn't lose to by, less than 7 to 10 points. So,
do you think that the SEC is going to get 2 teams in this year? I personally don't.
I think that they have the best argument, but I mean, I think Alabama's got some chinks in the armor, but as far as their resume, if they win out and they're 11-1 and they beat Georgia in the SEC championship game, I think both of those teams go. I really do.
I would think it would be, if Alabama won out, it would be Alabama. Ohio State's going to get in if they win out. I think Oregon is too. I think the committee's kind of shaping that up. And if
right.
Oklahoma, I think they're going to go undefeated. That's 4 teams. I just don't see Georgia even getting in.
I think if Georgia loses by a field goal to Alabama, they will burn the state down if they don't put them in the playoffs. Seriously.
They might be doing that.
Yeah.
Well, man, thanks.
Appreciate it. One other note. Someone asked me to explain about why North Carolina versus Wake Forest was not considered a conference game. Well, because North Carolina plays in the Atlantic, and in the Coastal is where Wake Forest is. Hold on, let's get one more call. I'll finish that. And welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Rob, did you just say the SEC has the best chance of 2 teams getting into the playoff?
You misunderstood what I said. I said if Alabama wins out and they get a win over Georgia, then I think that they should put 2 teams in the playoff. Yes, I do. But see, here's the problem. You've got that lower back tattoo and it's burning you. I think it's not because they're in the SEC. I think it's because they're the 2 best teams. That's my logic. Okay.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with where they are.
You are the master of moonwalking. That's for sure. This is a new low for you.
Really?
I just want to take us all back to maybe June, July, August, about the SEC easy and the SEC being overranked. Now
you're mistaking what I said, but go ahead.
Now you're telling us the SEC has the best chance of 2 teams getting in.
No, I don't, because I think that Alabama can lose to Auburn.
Well, you just said we all just heard you say they have the best chance of 2 teams getting in.
They have the best chance for the 2 teams to get in, but the problem that you have is that, you grew up in the 1920s, and when the SEC came around, you had this whole mentality of the SEC is the best thing ever. And in reality, there are 2 really good teams, maybe 3 with Texas A&M, and the rest of it's just kind of mediocre. That's what you need to get into your head instead of, oh my God, Vanderbilt would match up with everyone else. Mizzou is awesome. That's the kind of things I hear from the SEC apologists, and that's what gets me frustrated.
You can check the bookcase of accountability. I've never said that.
Is that right next to my stack of stuff where you said Stetson Bennett is a midget and has no business, quarterbacking a top-ranked team? Do I need to move that paperwork out of the way and look for the stuff there? I can't remember.
First of all, I don't like that term. I use the word dwarf.
Stetson Bennett or midget?
Yeah, both actually.
Okay.
I do have breaking news out of Gainesville. I'm calling the upset. I'm calling for a Samford win Saturday.
You think Samford is going to beat Florida?
Yes. It's being kept under wraps, but now we find out that about 40 players have typhoid fever. So there's not that Dan Mullen would ever use that as an excuse at a press conference.
Okay.
But yeah, so they're gonna lose Saturday. Typhoid got them.
I can't even find a line on that Samford game because I was gonna go place a bet under the knowledge of Beg and Megan there. I'd place the bet. Why not?
Yeah, imagine if they had a Will Muschamp coach special teams unit, how much it'd beat Florida by.
Oh God.
So I'm gonna go with Georgia by 72. Like I said, due to the special teams coach we have there in Knoxville. I'm looking at block punts, block field goals, stuff like that. So
bless your heart.
43-18, Rob.
Bless your heart. Have a great day, sir. All right, there you go. Anyway, getting back to the Wake Forest thing with North Carolina, they have a long-standing rivalry where they play every year, but since they're in different divisions, they don't schedule them across. I don't understand why that is, to be honest with you. You think that they would be like their permanent opponent across the other side, much like Clemson has Georgia Tech. I got to look at North Carolina's schedule. But on years where they're not scheduled to be to play Wake Forest by the ACC, then it's a non-conference game. So that's why that is. Doesn't make any sense, but when they expanded, that's just the way things worked out. I'll have to check on that and see who North Carolina's permanent opponent is across the way. We'll do that during the break. Feel free to call at 803-978-1832. Beg and Megan is calling for a Georgia win by 72 this weekend and a Samford win over Florida. Wow. That's how we start the show today. Thanks for all that. 803-978-1832. That's funny, Blake or Jay.
We're celebrating Thanksgiving this month, and you know what I'm thankful for? Zero Res. It's the only company I trust to give my home the best and most effective clean. Right now, get 3 rooms of coffee for only $119 from the next station. Schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com.
I didn't know he lost to South Alabama. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Around the world on the iHeartRadio app. Thanks for joining us today. We were talking about Wake Forest and North Carolina not being conference games. They basically set up to play two non-conference matchups in 2019 and 2021. They don't really play each other every year, but apparently they thought that Bubba Cunningham, the athletic director at North Carolina, basically thought that, according to his statement, that they had a relevant football history and they had to play each other. So that's why that's the way it is. North Carolina, you would thought they would have made it where, and I'm trying to find North Carolina's permanent across the ACC opponent. You know, Clemson plays Georgia Tech every year, and I was looking for that during the break, but I wonder who from the Atlantic that UNC plays every year. It's not Clemson. We know that. We know it's not Florida State. I don't think they play Florida State every year. Maybe it's NC State. There you go. So they play NC State every year, and Wake Forest kind of got pushed to the back of the line. So that's why that is. So your cross-conference rival for North Carolina is NC State. And they schedule Wake Forest in years where they don't come up in the rotation, and that's why they get Wake Forest in non-conference games. So there you go with that. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400, of course, around the world on the iHeartRadio app. Games this weekend that we're looking forward to. South Carolina and Mizzou playing to see basically who has the best chance to go to the Gasparilla Bowl. And, you know, with South Carolina predicted to win 4 games at the beginning of the season, they get a tire fire Florida team that they absolutely walloped. And with that, they're at 5 wins, 3 games left. They've got, of course, Wake, Auburn, and Clemson. A trio of games against Tigers, but the best opportunity is for them to go up and win at Mizzou. Now, we had on the folks from the Mazodcast who follow and cover the Missouri program. They pretty much laid it out there that, it's not really, they don't really like their chances in that game. They may be playing without Connor Bazelak, their starting quarterback, who didn't play in the Georgia game due to a soft tissue injury. I don't know what that means, but we'll see how that works out. Clemson plays Uconn. Clemson's a 38-point favorite. I haven't even really researched the Uconn game because it's almost like a bye week. How long will Clemson starters play? Pretty much what it boils down to. Now, there is a big matchup in the ACC this weekend. If you are a Clemson fan and you're thinking, all right, there's a chance for Clemson to get back into the ACC championship game, they're going to need a lot of help. All right. North Carolina State has to lose 3 games. They've already dropped 1. So they need to lose 2 of their last 3 games. They play Wake Forest this coming weekend. And with that, I think the best thing would be for Wake Forest to win that game and hang another loss on NC State, and then Clemson win over Wake Forest the following weekend, and then hope that Boston College can get Wake Forest that would put them out. So we'll see. Blake says Rodriguez, the ULM quarterback, has a soft tissue injury that turned out to be a punctured lung. Ouch. What a mess. I use soft tissue injury because that's what it says on the report. I don't know exactly what it is with Connor Bazelak. It could be a thigh injury. Who knows? Began Megan says he's sorry. Did he hear you say that Clemson has scheduled an out-of-conference cupcake? Yes, they're taking after what Georgia does, scheduling Murray State, and we can go down the list. if you really want to go down that road. You should stop with that nonsense. Lots of teams schedule out of conference games. Silly. 803 978 1832. 803 978 1832. That is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the Rundown this afternoon on Fox Sports Radio 1400. You know, Cincinnati being at number 5 in the current CFP rankings, if that gives the logic that if one of the teams above them drops the game, they should be right in there. So with that and what we've seen of Cincinnati, we can take calls on that as well. Do you want Cincinnati in the playoff if they finish 12-0? Or it will be 13-0 because of, and if they win out. I don't know if I'm buying all that at all, man. I just, when I see Cincinnati and I see the struggles that they've had with the Naval Academy, it's not even one of the really good Naval Academy teams this year. I think Navy's like 2-6, something like that. We'll see how that works out. But I don't feel that. I think the 2 wins, they beat an Indiana team that hasn't been really good this season. Notre Dame win is impressive. We'll give you that. But in the end, do you want them in over Ohio State? Do you want them in over Oregon or Alabama? I don't know. For me, I don't think that makes the best college football playoff. If we're about getting the best teams in there, it shouldn't be that way. Where the argument can come about is, what do you consider the best teams? I think your best team should be your conference champion. I believe that. That kind of goes back on what I said earlier, because I think that just from the eye test, you know, Georgia and Alabama should be right there. But there are other things that are in the mix too. I mean, if they don't win their conference titles, then why even have a conference championship game? Just declare your champion at the end of the season, and we'll go from there. Todd online says, yeah, give them a chance. We gave Notre Dame a few chances. 803-978-1832. Dakota says, Georgia fans have no discussion when it comes to a schedule. Sorry, but true. Okay. 803-978-1832. More of the rundown when we come back.
Switch up your personal and business phone number in less than 3 minutes with the Switch Up app. Get all the benefits of having a separate phone number without having to manage and pay for a second phone. Switch Up is built-in spam protection, unlimited calling and texting, automated replies, and custom voicemail. It's all about the work-life balance. Find out more at getswitchup.com. Download today and get 40% off your first year of Switch Up. Learn more at getswitchup.com.
Hi, it's Gary David. Are you ready to take a shot at finding a new career? FN America, a growing world-class design and manufacturer of the world's most innovative and quality firearms, is looking for you. At FN, you'll be part of a passionate team that takes pride in knowing they're doing their part to save lives and protect our freedom. FN offers outstanding benefits, including an on-site health and wellness center, excellent health plans, profit sharing, and 401k plan for all employees. So start carrying your future today and explore career opportunities at fnamerica.com/careers.
Hey guys, Walton Swan here. I was hanging out in the backyard with my son Mason a couple of years ago, and he said, Dad, you're the best father ever. When I asked him why, he said, because when I go outside to play, I don't get eaten up by the bugs anymore. Imagine that, me a hero, when all I did was call my good buddy Trey Powell at Mosquito Joe with their routine service plan, no more bugs and no more bites. Make yourself the family hero. Call Mosquito Joe today, 803-223-7916. That's 803-223-7916. Outside is fun again.
Which quarterback are you talking about, Baylor?
It's your chance to win $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword green to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply to nationwide contract.
Yeah, didn't he transfer out and go somewhere else and ended up? It seemed like he was hurt a lot.
Travis, here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network.
Presented by BioNTech and Pfizer.
The Hornets are in Memphis tonight. They hope to snap a 5-game losing streak. Charlotte has also lost 4 in a row to visit. Kansas City fans, Darnold will miss a significant amount of time after an MRI uncovered a fractured shoulder blade. PJ Walker starts against Arizona. And 3 football fans are proud to play for the SEC after Eli Manning demonstrated a double bird salute on Monday Night Football Manning back in September. I'm Scott Davidson.
Festivals. Football.
Yeah, I believe that because under that logic, LSU wasn't your national champion in 2019 because they were ranked at the beginning of the season. They weren't ranked as number 1. I think teams can grow. Texas A&M is better now than they were when they were losing to Mississippi State and Arkansas. (803-978-1832), 803-978-1832. The Cincinnati question is out there on the rundown. If you'd like to comment on where you think Cincinnati should be, we'll take calls on that. And we'll go from there. Of course, Georgia, number 1, followed by, where are my notes? Oh, here it is. Yeah. Georgia, number 1, Alabama 2, Oregon 3, Ohio State 4, Cincinnati 5. Michigan moves ahead of Michigan State, even though Michigan State beat them. I wonder if they're just looking ahead and thinking this matchup's going to happen here, etc. Ohio State and Michigan play each other. I wonder what's going to happen if Michigan wins that game close. I don't know. That's the best part about college football is that we can debate all day here, but in the end, once Thanksgiving is here, you have 1 week left, and we pretty much know everything. I do a show on the day after Thanksgiving. It's like the setup for the rivalry weekend. But trust me, when I come in for that show in 17 days, something like that, however long it is, all of the stuff that we're talking about now will be a distant memory. We could be looking at an Alabama team that maybe they drop a game. Actually, I don't think they'll have their game that weekend. We could be looking at Oregon may have another loss. Nobody thought they would lose to Stanford. Cincinnati may stub their toe. All of that can change in a matter of a weekend. That's what's interesting. The most interesting thing about college football is that it can completely change. There's a set of people I think that are out there that say, you know what? They're tired of seeing basically the same 4 teams that are in the mix. They're tired of seeing Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, etc. Clemson's not in the mix this year. Let's use somebody else. Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, and I don't know, Notre Dame. All up there in the mix inside the top 10. The thing that you can, when people talk to you about that, it's simple. It's not their fault that they go out and they have consistent programs that do great stuff. If you're upset that your Pittsburgh team is not there, just tell them to get better. They have an opportunity. Don't lose games to directional schools in Michigan. Back out to the phones. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
Hello.
Hey, I was saying, wonder how mad Bluegrass Sports Media is to Kentucky losing in basketball last night.
I don't know. Normally he calls up, and I just don't think his world is kind of crummy right now. It was like Bill Murray. I was watching Stripes the other night. Bill Murray and Stripes at the beginning of it. He lost his job. He lost his girlfriend. He lost all kind of stuff in one set day. That's kind of where Mr. Bluegrass Sports Media is right now, because the mighty Kentucky Wildcats basketball team went out and lost last night. So there are teams in the country that have a basketball win, and one of them is not named Kentucky. And his football team has lost 3 straight, and their coach is talking about, we better take Vanderbilt seriously. Yes, you better take Vanderbilt seriously the way that you've played. So there's that.
I think Vanderbilt and Kentucky are both garbage in football anyway, but that's just my
They
opinion.
absolutely are. They are. And see, the thing is, it's to get out of that realm where you're not considered a bottom feeding team. It's not having one good season. It's having several seasons over time, finishing second or third, and then possibly moving your way up a little bit more, especially in the recruiting rankings. That's how you
Right.
get out of that. But Kentucky is consistently a team that finishes near the bottom of the SEC East. That's just the way that it is.
Right. All right, buddy. Thank you.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. If you'd like to join us here on the rundown this afternoon on Fox Sports Radio 1400, around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. I'm on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. Find some of my cool tweets over there. I say cool tweets. It makes people, some of my tweets make people angry. I just tweet at random. So Dakota says the Kentucky Wildcat football record was an accident. They really didn't mean to do it. Okay. There's that too. But anyway, getting back to that with the college football playoff, yeah, just win more games. Make that jump like Texas A&M has made, where they were going 4-4, 5-3 in the SEC, and they've consistently made themselves a little better. Kind of the way that you to have different teams in the playoff, that's the way to go. But to sit here and say that Cincinnati just needs to be there just because you want them there, it's all emotion. It really is. It's not any idea of, hey, Cincinnati does this. They struggled in some of their games this season. A lot of it does come down to how you look. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Clemson won last night over Presbyterian, I think 63-54. Gamecocks won over Gamecock women, top-ranked team in the country, won over fourth-ranked NC State. Gamecock men won over USC Upstate. They play Friday night in Asheville against Princeton in some tournament that's up there. And if they win that game, then they may get a shot at someone else. So we'll see how that works out for the Gamecocks over the weekend as basketball season is officially underway. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. That is the number to call. If you'd like to join us here on the rundown, tell us what your favorite game is you're looking forward to this weekend as we roll into the final full regular season month of college football. I guess it started last month, but yeah, we're right in the heart of it now. The point in the seasons where you don't have teams that you kind of know who's going to be where somewhat. Now it's stacking time. Who's going to be up top? Who's going to be down bottom, etc. All right. So when we come back, we'll look at some of the games this weekend and a couple of other things here on the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. As I said, the podcast will be up at about 5 o'clock today. So be sure to check that out. If you missed any of the show, our interview with the Mazodcast, it seems some folks like that on the podcast. You can go over there and check that out as well. And get the Brendan Anthony talking about the kicker for Mizzou is important because he has a big butt and the big butt helps him kick field goals. Yeah, that's up on the podcast at foxsportsradio1400.com. However you get your favorite podcast, you can go and check that out. Blake says his favorite game is Mississippi State at Auburn. They play at 11 a.m. playing for bowl eligibility. Yeah. Auburn coming off that loss from last weekend. They're not feeling it, so we'll see how that works. All right, more of the rundown when we come back. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. I was listening to some podcast today, and they called Colin Kaepernick Rosa Parks. I don't know why I laughed at that so hard. Rosa Parks. That's really funny. Colin Kaepernick is now Rosa Parks. By the way, somebody asked me on Twitter if I watched his Netflix special. No. Why would I watch Colin Kaepernick's Netflix special? So now Colin Kaepernick to me is Rosa Parks. I wish I could give credit to whoever that was, but I was driving when I don't even remember what podcast it was from, but Rosa Parks is hilarious. And that's what he should be called for now and forever. I could probably kick some field goals. Probably could. I don't know if that makes me like racially insensitive or not. I'm not. I just, why do I want to watch about Colin Kaepernick? Rosa Parks. What a mess name that is. If I'm going to go back and try to find that podcast and give that guy credit, whoever it was that said that. Rosa Parks. No. I read something today that Leach had said there's like 40 people that went to try out to be the kicker. Yeah, it is for the YouTube crowd here. Is Rosa Parks racist? Would that get me in trouble? Rosa Parks. Oh man. That may have been who said it. Very good. Welcome back to the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world in the iHeartRadio app. Let's go back out to the phones. Welcome into the show. Good afternoon.
Hey, Rob, this is Biscuit.
Hello, Biscuit.
What's going on? Hey, listen.
Hey, by the way,
making comments about
something we said last week that made a lot of sense was basically thrown into our face, and we were made to look stupid last night because we agreed that the head-to-head matchup makes a lot of sense until with Oregon and Ohio State, but apparently it doesn't mean anything when it comes to Michigan State. So basically, they may have been listening and laughed at us and said, "What do those two idiots know?"
It's funny with the college, the playoff rankings. I thought they've always done a pretty good job overall. I mean, everybody's going to have gripes with their teams. Where I think they've done a pretty good job near the top. I think they've gotten really slack with the back end of the top 25 and not followed through on what they're really supposed to do.
What do you mean by that? Do you have an example?
Well, yeah, there was one that was brought up about who was it? Mark Rogers was talking about that Utah was ranked, but Penn State wasn't, and he did a breakdown of their schedules against each other, and it's not even close. Like Utah isn't even close to Penn State.
That's fair.
So I mean, so to say they've been inconsistent with what they've done so far this year. To be honest with you, I like what they've done with disrespecting Oklahoma for not playing anybody, that sort of thing. I like that.
But that's just you being maybe you just don't like Oklahoma, right? Does that have something to do with it, or do you think that, or do you truly believe that Oklahoma's there?
Towards Oklahoma.
Yeah, sure, okay.
I mean, I'm a Georgia fan. I don't have hatred towards Oklahoma. It's not that. It's just I am tired of the fans whining that they're at where they're at, and they essentially struggle with every team from like teams that are probably ranked in the bottom, the 70th to 80th ranked teams in the country. They're struggling with them. I mean, you got to beat some of these guys. You can have one or two where you have an off game or something like that, but you can't consistently struggle like that and expect to be ranked in the top 4, depending upon what goes around though.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But my call was, you keep saying things like the SEC isn't all that. What are you comparing that to?
I'm comparing it to, I want people to understand it's not, it's my mentality on that is that people will say, if you play an all SEC schedule, that it's the most toughest schedule on the planet. Forgive me if I don't think that playing Vanderbilt, Mizzou, South Carolina, Arkansas on most years is just this gauntlet of a schedule. I just don't see it that way. I do think that the top half of the SEC is great with I say the top, might be the top third with Texas A&M and Georgia and Alabama. Those are great teams. It's not an issue with that. But for people from other teams that say, man, we play that SEC schedule, especially teams that don't schedule those teams from the West every year. And it's like, oh my goodness, we play an SEC schedule, and it's really not that crazy of a schedule by metrics at all. I mean, the Big Ten, in theory, has tougher conference schedules from top to bottom more than the SEC does.
Yeah, but so the SEC is usually the best. This year, there's a debate between the SEC and the Big Ten. The SEC has the gall of only having really 3 legit top 10 teams.
The SEC doesn't have. Hold on. Currently, the SEC doesn't have 3 top 10 teams. Their SEC has 2 top 10 teams. The Big Ten has what 1, 2, 3, 3 top 10 teams. So, I mean, if we're gonna put numbers out there, let's make sure that they're correct.
Yeah, but like we said, like the other teams in their conference, there's about 4 or 5 of them. Sure. Michigan, Michigan State, Iowa, they're all cut from the same mold. And these aren't dynamic.
I'm sorry, I'm not being as smart on
the idea that they're national title contenders.
I'm not being as smart on what do you mean by cut by the same mold? Do you mean that they're not capable of competing? Is that where you're going? Hello?
I'm sorry, I'm having a tough time hearing you on this. I'm on my cell phone.
Oh, okay. I was asking, you said, I wasn't trying to be smart, but I was saying you said that those teams weren't cut from the same mold. What exactly are you talking about? The mold that they're not capable of being a national champion?
No, but I mean, like when you make the statement that those teams are top 10 teams, that puts the idea in people's head that they're national title contenders, and they're not. I mean, essentially, the Big Ten has 1 national title contender. That's it. Ohio State is the only team that really legitimately has a chance. The other 4 are 3 yards in a cloud of dust and have overrated defenses.
Yeah, okay. Well,
I mean, they're good teams.
All of that is opinion, but it'll
you can
weigh
line up
itself
Auburn
out
and
in
Arkansas against those teams, and on a given day, they're going to beat them too. You know.
Yeah, but we have to see the problem that we have, and maybe you and I can agree upon this, is that bowl season doesn't mean what it used to be. What I mean is that you'd have setups where these teams would play each other and it would mean something. But now with everyone opting out, the games just aren't as important anymore. And you can't really get hey, this is a true matchup of an SEC team versus a Big Ten team. And we can really lay some stuff down there. We just don't see that anymore. And there's also the set of, there are certain teams that won't schedule other teams. And, like we give Georgia credit for scheduling Notre Dame and teams like that. But, I use the Florida example forever. Florida hasn't scheduled a non-conference regular season opponent outside of the state of Florida since like 1999. And so you have stuff that goes against you like that too. But I wish the bowl seasons meant more, and then we could actually stack it up and say, okay, this really is a legitimate measuring stick as to what teams are, what conference is better than another conference.
Well, the bad news there is that the bowl season is going to continue to lose support as the playoff grows. I mean,
we agree on that.
Like now, if we extend it to a 12-game playoff and we have games going through Christmas and stuff, that's going to be fantastic during the Christmas break or when people are off and able to watch those games.
Right.
But as far as a lot of these bowl games that you're talking about, there were like 50-something bowl games, I think. Isn't that about right?
Yeah, no, I think there's 32 games, I think, for the bowl season, something
32,
like that.
Because I was thinking 64 go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those bowl games no one is watching. Right. I mean, I would try sometimes to watch, a MAC team play a Mountain West Conference team, but it's hard.
Well, the way to make yourself watch those games is to bet on them. To just bet $10, then hey, I got $10 on this game. Then you're going to watch. That's what those
That's
games
true.
are for gamblers, man. You know that.
Right. Yeah, that's what you have to do, or getting some little pick league with your friends or something like that. That makes it fun. But yeah, the bowl season as it was is dying, and that's sad in some ways, and it's a lot good in others.
Yeah. All right, bud. Well, hey, I appreciate it. I've got to end the show here, man. But thanks for calling. You're always welcome.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. Thanks a lot. All right. Let's one other point here. Realistic One says he doesn't give Georgia credit for Notre Dame, but the year that Georgia played Notre Dame in 2019, Notre Dame finished, if I remember correctly, I want to make sure that I'll give you the exact stat here. But Notre Dame, that's the problem. People seem to forget Notre Dame finished in 2019 in the final AP poll, the year that they played Georgia, but they finished 12th in the country. So why is that not a viable win? See, that's the bias that people have in their heads. They just want to think, oh, it's Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's not in a conference. Finished 12th in the country after the season was over. It's a great win for Georgia. Just saying. All right, more of the rundown tomorrow. We'll be back at it right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you later on. No, Kentucky is not ranked.
When a physician you trust moves on, it's deflating. When that physician returns, it's worth celebrating. Welcome home, Dr. Paul Espinoza of Espinoza Vein Institute.
Yeah, check that out, Blake. I don't know if you might be right. All right, yeah, new show with Jackpot tonight. We'll see you guys then, all right?